Welcome to My Favorite Things. I'm Jordan, and let's have 4 books today that are good reads for the coming new year. Some of these are going to be very familiar to you, but I wanted to have a little bit of something for everybody here. Speak by Laurie Halse Anderson. If you've never read Speak before, highly recommend this book. It is one of the most impactful books I read as a young person, and I've reread it a couple different times. I even listened to the audiobook, which I also really enjoyed. The way that Anderson handles this is so incredibly beautiful, and how the main character, Melinda, in this book isolates herself from her friends, her family, and really shuts down eternally, then finds art and finds a way to slowly start expressing herself. And in that expression, finally learns how to grow and bloom and express what happened to her, and how to then continue on with life in a beautiful new way. So incredibly good. Highly recommend this for any young woman, honestly, any young man as well. I think these are important themes for men and women to know as young people and as we grow older, just to understand one another and ourselves a little bit more. I'm the Messenger is told in the Australian accent. I say that because that's how the audiobook is, and it is phenomenal. The voice of this main character is absolutely fantastic. It's about a taxi driver named Ed who is absolutely going nowhere in life, even though he's driving everyone else places. Marv's the maestro of meanness with money, the prince of penny pinchers. He has thick blonde hair that stands up almost in knots, wears old suit pants for comfort, and jangles his keys in his pockets with his hands. He always looks like he's laughing with sarcasm at something privately. We grew up together, which is the only reason we're friends. He's actually got a lot of other acquaintances too, for a few reasons. The first is that he plays soccer in winter and he has mates from there. The second and main reason is that he carries on like an idiot. Have you ever noticed that idiots have a lot of friends? It's just an observation. None of that helps me though. Slagging off Marv doesn't solve the ace of diamonds problem. There's no avoiding it as much as I try. It always sidles up to me and makes me recognize it. I come to a conclusion. I tell myself, you have to start soon, Ed. 45 Edgar Street, midnight. A playing card arrives in his mailbox with simple instructions, an address and a time. That's it. He doesn't know what to do until he shows up. So insanely good. If you haven't read this book, you gotta pick it up. Fahrenheit 451. That is the burning point of books. I read this book at school, like most of us did, or will, and I gotta say, as a very serious book lover, this terrified me to my core and still does. This book has never left me. From the moment that I started reading it, I didn't always understand everything that was happening in the story. Some of it was a little bit odd and science fiction-y and a little bit futuristic and also old-timey. It's incredibly good. And it just really shows you that stories carry us and connect us with one another. When the Wind Blows. This was my first ever James Patterson novel, and it is still my absolute favorite. I actually first heard it as an audiobook on a road trip that my parents were listening to on a very long road trip. We started like early in the morning when it's still dark, so we'd been put into the car in our pajamas, still sleepy, and I could hear this voice. I'm gonna spoil it for you a little bit. There's a feather right here, and that's because Frannie, a veterinarian, discovers a girl with wings. That's all I'm gonna say. It is one of my all-time favorite novels ever. There's so much about this book that is fascinating and lovely and funny and haunting. It's so many little twists and turns, and all along the way, I wanna enjoy the ride over and over again. Do not read the second book, okay? It's gonna ruin it for you. Yeah, I do believe this is one of those books that James Patterson actually wrote himself and there was no co-authors involved. The second one, I believe highly that there was a co-author and that they ruined it for everyone, including myself. I linked this book as well as all the other books down below. However, When the Wind Blows is a little bit pricey on Amazon, so I recommend finding that at like a half-price bookstore instead, or maybe from your local library. Catch you on the flippity flip.